Good afternoon. Hey, 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 hey.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
Hey.
I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Hey, hey, hey,
And they
hey.
stay there. And they say yeah. And they stay there. Up, down, up, down. 'Cause all I do is win, win, win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air. Make 'em stay there.
Yes, 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 yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is your friend here, Tish, Coach Tish, HR Guru Tish. And today I have invited Chelsea. There's been some technical difficulties on her end. If she comes in, we are going to be grateful so that we can proceed with our scheduled questions. If not, I have a topic. I always have a topic. I can hear Liddy T's like Miss Tish. She's always ready. I would like to talk about student loans. How many of you have had your student loans forgiven? This morning, I learned of two ladies having their student loans forgiven. One was forgiven $80,000 plus, 80,000 plus whatever hundreds and cents loans forgiven. Another one has been paying for over 25 years. I think that's a great thing that we are finally getting some reprieve from those student loans. I got to look mine up to see if I qualify. But would love to hear from you in the chat. We are live here on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. And I am just going to wait a few minutes to see if Chelsea's able to make it on. If not, it's going to be a short night. But I want to make sure that I am consistent and I am being faithful with the space and the time. There's so much happening, there's so much transpiring in the world. But when there's something great, we celebrate. And today we're talking about finances and how we can get out of debt, how we can take advantage of those programs that are available to us. I'm grateful to Biden and the administration for having the student loan forgiveness. Right now, I am consulting with a financial advisor just to try to get everything correct. My heart's desire. And I see Chelsea, we are going to have that as the commercial in that if you haven't checked your student loans, check them out to see if you have forgiveness. It is worth a try. It is worth it. And I want to welcome, 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 Chelsea. How are you, beautiful?
Hi, Tish. I am so sorry.
All is well, girl. All is well. This is how I like. I am upper right brain sanguine. I love to just go from the heart, be organic, be authentic. And I know you are a beautiful lady who is hustling, networking, getting the contracts. And I would love to start by first welcome you to Winning Workplace Wednesdays. Thank you so much for being able to come on the show. And if you can just introduce yourselves to our listening audience would be awesome.
I would love to. And thank you so much for having me here with you. I've been really looking forward to this since we first met in July
Yes.
at the Health 2.0, or I guess yours was the Education 2.0. So yeah, so my name is Chelsea. I am the founder and CEO of Atlas Health Co. I'm a registered nurse by trade. And now I own a business where I offer holistic healing modalities. So integrating Eastern and Western medicine into one to help heal the mind, body, and soul.
Chelsea, if I could give you a hug, I'm giving you an air hug. I love it. So I grew up in a household where we ate kosher. We it was promoted to have that clean lifestyle. I was a pescatarian up until this year. I was like, I need some more iron, so now I'm eating chicken. but just having that clean lifestyle. And then for when we got sick, of course, we did the traditional methods, but my mom also did alternative methods. We went to a holistic doctor. I mean, this may be TMI, but as a little kid, I was having enemas, like detoxing.
Yeah,
Like,
that's amazing.
I'm serious. Like, she would have the most interesting herbs from the garden, and I wasn't a cool kid with the cool snacks. Most recently, now I, of course, indulge from time to time, but she was big on nuts and fruits, and just not Kool-Aid, but if she could make our own juices, she would. So I just remember that my brother at one point was really sick, and she took him to Dr. Diaz, and there was this detox soup that was the recipe of onions and garlic. The soup was onions and garlic, but just how significant those two items were with
Mm,
pulling toxins from the body. So I
yes.
am too was looking forward to our opportunity of speaking. I'm so glad you were able to download and get on. And so, yes, yes, let's continue the conversation. Any feedback on in terms of how I grew up, which is pretty much not the regular kid route?
It's not, but that's amazing that your mom was open to alternative medicine and holistic healing modalities. I mean, food is medicine, and that's something that is very overlooked in today's society,
Yes,
with conventional medicine and pharmaceuticals and all the toxins in the environment.
yes,
So the methods that she used, power to her.
yes. I mean, oh my goodness, it was just. I am grateful for it. I'm grateful. I am particular with what I intake, but I'm grateful for it because my body is a temple, and I she had this one book. It was called Back to Eden, and so there were just so many things. I want to shout out Fred. He too is trying to put up his instead of a food truck, he wants to put out there a juice truck,
Ooh,
and we're
yes.
just about juicing and just getting all that we need. He also reminded me of all the healing properties of soursop. So yes,
Mhm.
let's get into it. The next
Cancer fighting. Soursop is cancer fighting. Yes, I love that. So
it
much
is. You know
nutrition.
what? I grew up with a soursop tree in my backyard.
Oh, wow. Where did you grow up?
Yes, in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and my mom would make soursop juice all the time, and popsicles. It was just, I'm just like, wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, it's powerful.
You know what? I saw a soursop down the street at Red Apple store. It was 14.99 for 1 pound.
Oh, wow.
But like you said, it fights cancer
Medicine. It does. It's
at
medicine.
any cost.
Uh-huh.
Yes, yes,
Flooding the cells with nutrients and medicine,
yes.
antioxidants.
Please share your journey, Chelsea. Did you grow up in a family like mine that was a little health conscious and gurus? How did you come to this path?
Yeah, so this is interesting. So my parents were both in healthcare. They still are. Over 40 years they've been practicing. My mom is a registered nurse, and my dad is a sports medicine doctor. So grew up in a healthcare family, and my mom was an amazing cook. She always cooked, very nutritious foods, and it's funny because I don't think they even realized at the time that they were holistic. But they didn't want to put us on antibiotics when we got sick. My mom cooked chicken noodle soup. She cooked healthy vegetables. We
Yeah.
rested, hydrated. That now what I'm doing is really going back to the basics
Yes.
of, again, rest, hydration, nutritious foods. There's so
Yeah.
much power in that.
Yeah.
So I've had to unlearn a lot of what I learned in nursing school, and
Mhm.
it's just so interesting how it ties back to my upbringing. and how thankful I am to my parents, although they were trained in conventional medicine. They knew how powerful the body is in
Yes.
self-healing.
Yes. It is so true. It can do it. Our bodies are powerful, without a doubt, without a doubt. And
Mhm.
so you clearly went to school to become a nurse, and nurses primarily go the traditional route. How did you get the untraditional route?
Yeah, so I started off in the ER, working as an RN, and I had some experience in college. So my first degree was actually in health promotion, and my specialization was cardiac rehab. Took a couple detours after my first degree, enlisted in the Coast Guard for 4 years, and then went.
Amazing.
Thank you. Went back to nursing school after my enlistment ended. And so, yeah, just seeing, witnessing conventional medicine, Western medicine, and noticing the disconnect in care. In addition to working in the ER, I also had some experience in mental health. I worked for a mental health nonprofit, and I just really started understanding how disconnected everything was, and how conventional medicine was not getting to the root cause of symptoms. And of course, conventional medicine is great for urgent care, acute care, stabilizing symptoms,
Yes, yes.
treating
Let's
emergencies.
get back on track. Yes.
Yes, but not chronic conditions, and that's what we're seeing. And we're spending how much money in healthcare today?
Woo!
It's
It's a
increasing every
business.
year, and people are getting sicker and sicker. So what do we do now? So I wanted to not fix healthcare, but start building something new and integrating more of the Eastern ancient healing modalities into my practice.
Wow.
So after getting some experience in the ER and in mental health, I went through a 6-month program called nurse coaching. So I started there, and that opened my eyes to a lot of the holistic healing modalities that I'm doing now. Got board certified as an integrative nurse coach and started working one on one. And I loved that. And that's something that in the ER, you don't get to do. You're discharging patients once you
Yep.
stabilize their symptoms, or you are sending them upstairs to be admitted. And I loved the times that I got to sit, which wasn't very often because it was the ER. But when I was able to sit with the patients and understand more of their background and what led them to this imbalance or dis-ease in the body. So
Yes.
that's what led me to find the program that I did a few years ago, and it changed my life, not only professionally but throughout the program. It helped me take a better look at myself and my daily habits and my daily routines. And I've always wanted to help. I've always wanted to help people from a very young age and give back. But it wasn't until I started going deeper within myself and healing myself, my mind, my body, and my soul, and opening up and being more vulnerable
Yeah.
and asking for help, that I was then able to help people in the way that I was craving.
Yes. You know what? I was driving and I was like, man, I cannot wait to talk to Chelsea, because on the radio, this one lady was sharing her experience, and she was going to the doctor, and she spent about 5 minutes with the doctor. Like, it was just like in and out.
Oh yeah.
And she
Mhm.
was like, I can't do this. I need a different way. And so I think it was an Eastern modality. She went, and the lady, they just sat and talked for a good 35 minutes. She was like, what's your personal life like? What's stressing you out? She was like, what does that have to do with my pain? She was like, in order for me to treat you, we
Yes,
need to know what's going on with you.
of course.
And so I was like, I get it. Because when it comes to my doctors, I need to be able to share my whole life with them. If they're going to touch me, if they're going to examine me, I need to be able to trust them so
Right.
that I can allow them to do what they need to do with me. And I do believe it's mind, body, and spirit. We are
Mhm.
triune beings as well. So, you know, that's so critical that it's not just slam bam here your prescription. No, that doesn't work. We got to spend a little bit more time. And so when we connected, when we met, I was like, yes,
Mhm.
gotta dig deeper. We gotta share it. We gotta share what we've learned with others. And so that leads me to the next question. We share the same vision of mind, body, and spirit in regard to total healing. Have you always had this perspective? And we know that your parents, you know, didn't do the antibiotics. And I agree. I try, you know, not to unless it's like really, really, really severe. Can you elaborate on any statistics or any of your findings, especially in the area you said you had some opportunity to work with mental health? In terms of, because my mom is also in the healthcare field, and she was like, Tish, the mind is powerful. You know,
Very
we
powerful.
think it and things can happen. So making sure that you are guarding your mind, you're thinking healthy, positive thoughts. Can you tell us
Mhm.
a little bit about mind, body, spirit, but particularly how our minds play in with our
Mhm.
healing?
Yes, I mean you nailed it. Our mind is our most powerful tool, and if we are not aware of our thoughts, if our thoughts are based on the past, which I think they estimate that we have about 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day. And most of those are repetitive based on our pasts. So when we can observe what we're thinking about, which most of us are not observing our thoughts because we become so identified with our thoughts, you know, that's our identity is our past. And what I've found throughout the years in healthcare is a lot of physical disturbances in the body, a lot of what's manifesting as dis-ease. That's I like to say
Yes,
dis-ease
yes,
because
yes.
that's what it is. It's imbalance. And that is stemming from a lot of trauma. So that's the connection, the mind body connection. When we are suppressing emotions in the body, energy can become trapped. And that is what I was experiencing working one on one with people is um, learning more about their past. And I call it the storyline. And that's something that I learned in my nurse coaching program is looking back to, you know, how they became excuse me, how they became imbalanced. And it usually stemmed from some sort of emotional trauma.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's something that is so overlooked in conventional medicine. Again, we have all of these new technologies and so much research that, you know, and money spent in conventional medicine to maybe detect early cancer. And um, what we're missing is the trauma. That's really the root. And if we can't get that, if we can't understand that as providers, nurses, doctors, anyone in healthcare, if we're missing that, then you know we're not giving our patients a shot at real healing. We're not giving ourselves the opportunity to heal, and it's uncomfortable to talk about. It's difficult having to relive traumas, but there's so many ways that we can release the energy from those traumas. And that's what led me to my Reiki practice, my sound healing practice that I now integrate.
Mhm. I wonder why is that? Why? I mean, I kind of have my own idea in terms of, you know, the money side, but why? I don't understand. Like, it's kind of from my perspective, it seems like a fix, like a checkbox, you know, came to doctor, did the copay, got the vitals, saw the nurse, you know, did the doctor, got the prescription, go to the pharmacy, done. You know, that
It's
seems
a
to be like
business.
the
It's
check.
turned into a business. It's the system is flawed. And that's what I tell people that, or get frustrated with their doctors who spend 5 minutes with them. And it is very frustrating. I've experienced that myself in the past. But it's a problem with the system and the insurance companies and how we're billing. So it's, doctors and nurses and providers in the healthcare system, most of them go into medicine to help people, and then they get all twisted up in this system, and they're stuck. So they want to help, but they've learned one way, and that kind of leads me to my next thing, is it becomes their identity, is what they learn. And it's hard to unlearn things. It's hard to look at something, especially if you've been a doctor or a nurse, or
Yeah.
again, any provider in conventional medicine, and working years and years, and then taking a step back and realizing this is not the way. There's so
Mhm.
much unlearning that needs to be done, and we have to keep an open mind to the ancient healing modalities. Again, going back to basics, not spending more money on new testing and equipment and technology.
Mhm. Man, like I said, my brother was a sick child. And I often think, like, if we didn't do the alternative route, like, if he would still be here. I'm grateful that he is here,
Mhm.
but there's just so many. Sometimes the doctors say, there's nothing much that we can do.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
person, they decide to go raw food and just completely change their lifestyle, and then they have a whole new bill of health,
Mhm.
you
And
know.
when they do that, and when people start looking at food like medicine, because it is, they're flooding the body with nutrients.
Hmm.
And that's something too, that when we're taking pharmaceuticals, it depletes the body of nutrients. Or for cancer patients going through, chemotherapy and radiation, and the doctors aren't talking about nutrition.
Hmm.
It's just mind blowing.
I'm telling you, I lived from a from a grasshopper, from a itty bitty. It was about, what are you putting in? How are you
Hmm.
going to put in something that's not good and
Hmm.
expect something good in
Hmm.
the end?
Hmm. And
Um,
so many of our food products today are filled with preservatives and additives and toxins, and it's, congesting our organs. And that's why detoxing, and there's so many different foods that have detoxing properties, so it's a matter of detoxing from, maybe many years of unhealthy habits, and putting food in the body that isn't really food. It's fake food that, is heavily processed. And, we're taught in nursing school, um, to, look at the nutrition label. Let's say
yes,
on a food product.
yes,
If you take any basic nutrition class, you're looking at the proteins, calories, carbs, all of those things,
yes.
right? But we're not being taught to look underneath that label and look at the ingredients. If you can't even pronounce the ingredients, that's not food. And look at how many ingredients are in these packaged items.
Yes.
That's not normal. That is not normal.
Yeah. I've even started to learn about codes. So even something says organic, if it doesn't start with that number 9, I'm like, if it's
Yes.
not organic, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna have that.
Mhm.
So it's just very, very enlightening just to see how the world is today. And so when I meet individuals that are doing alternative means, I love to talk about it. What has been your most memorable healing story? Of course, without sharing your patient's name.
Oh, yes. So after I finished my nurse coaching program, I worked at a corporate wellness center for about a year and a half. And
Nice.
and had the opportunity to get a lot of really good experience as an RN health coach. And I had one patient who I had actually followed her. So before I transitioned over to the role of health coach, I was working as a clinic nurse very closely with one of the nurse practitioners. And after I did my assessment on the patient, I just felt something was very wrong. And, of course I listened to her lung sounds or heart sounds. And I talked to the nurse practitioner because he wasn't planning on doing any further testing. And I'd asked him to add a CT scan. I thought that we needed imaging. And long story short, she was diagnosed with lung cancer.
Oh no.
And months later, so I started working with her from the beginning and then transitioned into the role of health coach. So once I started working with her on, nutrition and her emotions and stress, learn more about the situation. And she had sleep apnea. So she was using a Philips CPAP machine that had been recalled because the material in that CPAP machine was carcinogenic.
Oh, wow. No.
And then with the pandemic, Tish, there was we still have a national shortage of microchips. So people are not able to get CPAP machines. So she had a recall and she wasn't able to get a new CPAP machine, nor was she able to go to a facility and durable medical equipment facility and get new parts to her old CPAP machine that was carcinogenic. So her oxygen saturations were dropping, and she was taking multiple naps throughout the day. She was ready to give up. And I was able to find her with the help of a friend in another state. We were able to find her a CPAP machine and overnight that to her. So, of course, when her oxygen levels started to stabilize and she had more energy during the day, we were able to really start working on her lifestyle and adding in supplements and work on her nutrition, her sleep, stress. So I use something called the Integrative Health and Wellness Assessment Tool, and it goes over all dimensions of health, not just physical health, but mental, emotional, spiritual, social, environmental. All of those dimensions make up who we are.
That's right.
So if we're just looking at physical health, we're missing all the other facets.
Yes.
So, really looking at patients as a whole and the interconnectedness of everything.
Yes.
So she is now cancer-free and
yes,
and she's doing wonderfully. And it's just been an incredible success story. And she's taken back her power and believed in her ability to heal. And with that too, I started seeing her once I left that wellness center. I started doing Reiki sessions, Reiki energy healing. And in those sessions, we pinpointed traumas from the past. So in Chinese medicine, it's a lot to do with how our organs hold specific emotions. So the kidneys hold fear, the lungs hold grief, and the liver holds anger. So with the
you are dropping bombs, Chelsea. Rewind. Let's get that. I am documenting the lungs hold grief.
Grief, resentment, heartbreak. The kidneys hold fear. The liver holds anger. So this is Chinese medicine now. And with Reiki, so that works on our chakras. So we have 7 main chakras in the body. And the Reiki energy goes where it needs to go. And it's incredible. I mean, I've always believed in, energy healing and I've always been an outside the box thinker. But when I started my Reiki certification, my mind was absolutely
Wow.
blown away at what I was witnessing myself, releases of energy that I had through breath work or tears. I mean, we don't cry. I don't think we cry enough. That's
Yeah.
another thing. We suppress. We try to be stronger than what we are facing or hardships in the past. We don't want to deal with them.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so Reiki is another modality that I do, and it's been so powerful. And it's I think too, some people think that it's against religions, and that's not the case at all. It's energy, and that's who we are at our core. Yes, we're a physical body, but we're energetic beings. And if we're not addressing that, I mean, we have our organs are operating at different frequencies, and they've measured this too.
Yeah.
So with the sound healing as well, the frequencies of my crystal quartz sound bowls, it's like recharging the batteries.
Wow.
And another thing too that's important to look at is most of our bodies are composed of water. I think it's
Yes.
70 to 80% of
80%.
water.
Yeah.
And there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Emoto, and he did a study on water molecules and sound frequencies. And one of the studies that he did was freezing water and stating intention. So speaking positive affirmations
Yes.
over one, frozen, and I may be incorrect. And if I am, I'm going to look this study up and I will email you the correct.
Okay.
I believe that it was two petri dishes of frozen water, and the petri dish that he was speaking positive affirmations over turned into like sacred geometry, beautiful crystalline structures. And the
Wow.
one that he was speaking negative affirmation or negative talk
Yes.
over, that turned into very dysfunctional patterns. So if our bodies are mostly water, that goes back to what you were mentioning about how powerful our mind is and how powerful our thoughts and our intentions are.
Yes. I
So
want
the
to add
everything.
something here. And, there's so many, like you said, in the integrative tool that you use to do your assessment. There's physical, there's mental, there's emotional. You mentioned social, environmental. There were so many different aspects to that tool. And I want to mention forgiveness
Oh
because
yes.
there was a conversation we talking about, what causes cancer, and there's so many different things, so many different ways that could be physical, mental, like, all that we've talked about. And the lack of letting go,
Oh yes.
the lack of being fluid and
Mhm.
being like a river and flowing,
Oh, I
my
love that.
trust is, God's going to take care of me. I am not going to take vengeance. I am not going to hold a root of bitterness. I am just going to trust and pray about everything, worry about nothing. Everything's going to work out. That person, it sounds similar to this experiment that you mentioned, they're free. They're
Yes.
free. But when you hold on and you're not able to let things go, I think, and this is a Tishism that has no scientific background, but I just believe that's where some stuff doesn't do what it's supposed to do, and things start growing and festering toxicity.
100%. And that's suppressing energy, that's suppressing emotions.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people hold on to resentment and they're not able to forgive others because, they don't feel like they deserve it. I've been wrong. It's that victim mentality that
Yes.
is, and we become addicted to our own stress hormones, right? And that's another thing too. Maybe
Wow.
that's another
See,
podcast, but
yes.
it's forgiveness is not for the other person.
That's
it's
right.
it's
For
for
you.
us, it's for you, exactly. And it's for our own healing. And if we're festering these emotions, it's keeping us in that vicious cycle where we're not able to set ourselves free. and love and use non-judgment in our everyday lives.
Yes.
So if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't help others. And
Yes.
we each have a unique purpose here on earth,
Yes, we
and
do. We do.
we can't allow ourselves to access that and our innate gifts that we're born with if we're harboring any of the low vibrational emotions like fear, resentment,
Yes.
guilt,
Yes.
shame, insecurities, anxieties, all of these things that, most of us, everyone, we go through life
Yes.
and we feel these things, but that's where the energy comes in, that free flow of energy. It
Yes.
becomes blocked in our bodies and our energetic fields if we hold on to the past.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's so much more than talk therapy, and there's been such a stigma in mental health, or stigma in society
Mm-hmm.
surrounding mental health. And now I think, especially with the pandemic, that's one good thing that came out of the pandemic
Yes.
is, people are more open to it now, but there's so much more than talk therapy.
Yes, yes, there is. There is. I got certified through the Brave Thinking Institute with my life coaching certification, with Mary Morrissey, and she talks about the quantum physics,
Yes, I love
and
that.
the power of just speaking, the power of speaking life. I want to shout
Yes.
out Lauren Reynolds. I just accepted an invitation to her business, which is Speak Life. I believe she's a speech therapist. But just when you like the experiment that you mentioned, when you speak, things can be so bad. But if you believe, if you have a glimmer of hope, it can
Mhm.
turn things around, man. It can turn things around, not only in your circumstance, but I do believe physically it can turn
Mhm.
things around for us.
And the word surrender just came to me. It's surrendering. Really, it's
Yes,
not giving up. Surrendering is not giving up, but well, I guess in a
trusting.
sense it is giving up our minds, right? It's
Yes,
it's releasing all of the things in the past that hurt us, surrendering
yes,
and asking for guidance from God, from
yes.
higher consciousness, from our higher selves, whatever you want to call it, whatever you identify with.
Mhm, mhm.
um, and that's where the mind body soul, or mind body spirit, comes into
Yes,
play. Is a
yes,
lot of people are disconnected from the truth, and from higher states of consciousness and source. We are one consciousness, we are one.
yes.
And there's so much disconnect between people.
You know, I believe in God, and I'm glad that I have this freedom here right now in America. I'm able to share that. And I do believe that when we trust, when we surrender and trust, if you want to know another Tisha, that's one of my strategies. When I get to boiling point, when I get frustrated, I said, you know what? I am ultimately not in charge. I am not in charge. Like, I have done everything that I could.
Hmm.
Today I was scheduling a candidate. I had a candidate scheduled for an interview, and I was like, I have done all that I could. The interview
Hmm.
was supposed to be in person. The interview became a Microsoft Teams. We're on the Microsoft Teams. The person's not here. I have done everything that I could. I'm going to surrender. I'm going to trust that
Yes.
what is meant to be in the situation is going to happen. I'm not going to stew and get mad.
Hmm.
No, that's not going to help my blood from remaining alkaline. I need to
Yes.
stay alkaline, okay, Chelsea, and not bring in any acidity, any toxicity my way, but just to surrender and trust.
Hmm.
And so, I pray about everything and just trust that things work out the way that they're supposed to.
Hmm.
What are some damages that you've seen, whether it's um, whether it's emotional or mentally, when someone is not able to get those areas of their lives under control?
Physical disease. That's where the physical disease manifests.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, if you're not able to get back to 0 point, the quicker you can get back into that alignment and balance within yourself. And just as you mentioned, you can only do so much. So
Yes.
we are in control to a certain point,
Yes.
and we are manifesting our own realities. We're creating our own realities.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having tech issues
You
leading up.
were, and I'm
I
glad you were
didn't have
still pushing through.
I did not have the right technology. And
Yeah.
I started connecting with my breath and using positive
Yes.
intentions. And,
Yes.
I felt that it was meant to be
It
to be on
was
this
meant to be.
podcast.
I said, you know
But
what? We are gonna push. My one friend Gabe, he called right at the moment. I'm like, Gabe, I'm going on in 1 minute. I said, the show is gonna go on. It is. What has touched me the most this morning? That was hearing women talk about their debt, their student loan being canceled. I was like, I'm gonna open up, hopefully bless someone, encourage someone to check on their student loan. I'm gonna check on mine. That was a positive thing that blessed me and blessed someone else. And before you know it, you popped on in. So just surrendering, trust that everything is going to work out the way that it's supposed to be.
and remaining in a state of gratitude is so important.
Critical.
Gratitude, forgiveness,
Yes.
back to that
Contentment.
alignment, because there's
Yes.
always going to be disturbances in our reality, right? and
Yes.
and those are teachers, those are lessons. It's helping us learn more about ourselves, learning more patience, more non-judgment. But when we can get back to that 0 point and
Yes.
surrender, it gets to that certain point where, okay, I've done all I can do, and then
Yes.
let go and let God. And
That's
what's
right.
meant to happen is going to happen. And it's when we resist things that are happening, that is suppressing energy, and it's creating stress in the body. Our
Yeah.
hormones get out of whack. Cortisol, that nasty hormone
Yes.
that's responsible for weight gain or inability to lose weight, that is surging through the body. But that's where too is something that I educate my clients on, is the power of the breath. So of course we have the
Yes.
power of the mind, our thoughts, our intentions, our own energy
Mhm.
that we are in control of. But a
Yes.
lot of people aren't aware of how they're breathing. So for mental clarity, for you
Mhm.
to have positive thoughts and start manifesting, better situations in life, going back to your breath, breathing deeply,
Yes.
that
Yes.
will help you become aware of your thoughts, because we can't change
Yes.
anything in our lives if we're not aware of what we're doing to begin with. So how do we get
Yes.
there? That's where our breathing comes in.
Yes.
Deep
Yes.
breaths, not shallow, because when we feel stressed and our environment's stressful, we tend to hold our breaths.
Yes.
And
Shorter breaths.
oh yeah, we're holding our breaths. We're not even breathing, or we're breathing very shallow, and that's just wreaking havoc in the body and creating all sorts of dysfunction and imbalance. So if it's, difficult for people who are listening right now thinking, okay, how do I change my thoughts? My thoughts are repetitive, they're negative. Well,
Yeah.
focus on your breath first, and then you will have more mental clarity, and you will start to observe your thoughts
Mhm.
rather than identify who you are with all of your thoughts. Our
Yes.
subconscious mind is a collection of data from everything we've
Yes.
ever experienced, good and bad.
Mhm.
So starting to rewire, and that's something too that we're now catching up with in society today. And there's evidence and research that backs it up, but we can form new neural connections in our
Yes, we
brain
can.
with our
Yes, we
thoughts at
can.
any age, at any
Yes.
age.
And I would encourage
We're
our listeners
powerful.
as well to start with a word. I start my day every day with a word. I literally go to the word. But if that's not what you do, I have my tea, my tea, and I have the positive quote that says, your actions prove your greatness.
Mhm.
It's not just what you talk about, it's what you're about. Start with something positive that can encourage you, that can push you forward.
Mhm.
I want to know, what are some of your regular routines? Since you are this health guru, I'm claiming you as a health guru because the nurse practitioner was just going to be like, okay, we're done. You're like, no, we need an MRI. So, and you helped that lady from going from
Mm.
having cancer in the lungs to being cancer free. So, what are some of your lifestyle routines that you can share for our listening audience that they may want to say, hey, that's something I think I can do?
Mhm. So I have recently gotten into the practice of yoga, which
Okay.
has just helped me connect on an even deeper level
Hmm.
to my spirituality and the mind body connection.
Hmm.
So I very much recommend trying out yoga.
Okay.
And I meditate daily. So I practice transcendental meditation. I sometimes add in different types of meditation as well. Actually, at the conference that I met you at,
Yes,
I purchased a device from the Brain Tap.
I
Um,
did. Yeah.
yes, Brain Tap. It's really really interesting stuff. So
Hmm.
um, I won't get too much into that, but for the
Hmm.
listeners, you're on Instagram, you can look up Brain Tap, and it's an incredible device that helps to retrain
I
your
saw that.
subconscious, and it uses lights and sounds and guided meditation. Um, so very much believe in the power of meditation, and um, I have recently adopted more of a plant-based lifestyle as
Yes.
well. So again, nutrition is very important, and hydration and what the quality of the water that you're drinking, making sure it's filtered water, because a lot of what's in tap water today is just heavy metals and
Mhm.
pharmaceuticals, and it's again, most of our bodies are water. So
That
just
makes us
looking at
good.
what you're consuming. So yeah, water is number one, and adding electrolytes into the water so our cells can function properly,
Yes.
and then a good sleep routine. I've been working on that lately as well, just with the summer months. I'm more active and
Yes.
lots going on. So just working toward more of a stricter sleep routine has
Mhm.
been helpful.
That's awesome. 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 And awesome. I also have seen some research on the effects of not getting enough sleep. People think like, hey, I'm gonna grind, 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 hustle, 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 but your
Oof.
body
Yeah.
needs to recharge. We're like cell phones. If you do not recharge, you're gonna be dead. You're not gonna have any battery to do anything. So I love that. Meditating,
Mhm.
plant based, water, supplements, sleep.
Magnesium too. Magnesium is a vitamin that I believe 50% of people are deficient in magnesium.
Mhm.
That's another very important vitamin that people should be looking at.
We will write it down, make sure we do it. Love the services of your business. Please elaborate on some of your offerings, and how can some of our listening audience tap in and maybe even hire you to be their coach in the area of health and wellness.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am based in Michigan, but I do offer virtual services, and I offer a lot of different modalities. So what I usually start with is an initial consultation, about a 90-minute consult. And then from there, I put together different options, because again, everyone is unique. We're all so different.
Yes.
And some people have more time than others, and they're ready for more intensive um, more of an intensive package or program, and other people only want to commit to maybe once a week or once every other week. So after the initial consult, I'll put together options for them to choose from a package, and then I'll also be starting group calls as well on Zoom,
Nice. Nice.
offering different, virtual workshops on gut health, on, healthy daily routines, um, intro to meditation, and other self care practices that I integrate into my one on ones, but having it more of a group setting.
Yes. I have a quick question as you said gut health because I've heard there are two brains. There's the brain that's in between our eyes, right? Our
Yeah.
ears. And then there's a brain in your gut. Have you heard that?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes. So a lot of, the neurotransmitters,
Mhm.
dopamine and serotonin, those are being manufactured in the gut. So
Yeah.
if we have poor gut health, then, that is directly correlated to how we're feeling mentally and emotionally. So proper gut health, again, nutritious foods, healthy, clean water, that
Yes.
all plays a part in mental health and how we're feeling, our mental clarity, all of that.
Mm, wonderful.
And our immune system as well. So,
Yes.
we can protect ourselves against viruses and, different sicknesses. And, we don't have to succumb to a lot of the things that we're seeing
Yes.
today. If we have proper gut health, then our immune
We'll
system
fight it off.
and functioning optimally. Yes. So,
Yes.
most of our immune system is housed in the gut.
Yes. Yes. Chelsea, we got to do this again. We
I would
got to
love
do this again so that I can see your pretty face. You are
to.
to be off camera, but I completely get it. I completely get it. So, and I want us to, if we can, talk about the addiction to stress hormones. I would love to do a part two.
Hmm. I'm ready for it. Let's schedule it.
Yeah, maybe October we can get that pumped out if you're available, of course.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my email is info at atlashealthco.com. My website is atlashealthco.com. And I am on Instagram as Atlas Health Co. Keeps it very
Awesome.
easy. It's all the
Yes,
same.
yes, it's so important. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Chelsea, you have dropped some bombs. You have had me going to look up some more Eastern alternative modalities when it comes to health and wellness because we are what we eat, we are what we think. We cannot create a winning workplace if the environment is not healthy. We
Yeah.
cannot be the best that we can be if we're not healthy. So I thank you so much for being a guest. I'm going to ask you to stand by in the green room. Listening audience, it was an absolute pleasure. I hope that I've encouraged you when you are throwing lemons and lime with a little bit of cherry. You whip up your cocktail. That is a virgin cocktail, that is, because we're talking about health here.
Love it.
And make some limeade, some cherry lemonade. We are glad that Chelsea was able to push through those technical difficulties and be able to make it with us today. We'll be back in October to talk about making sure we're not addicted to stress hormones. Until next time, beautiful people, keep shining. Hold 1 second, Chelsea. Make it a great one on purpose. Toodles.